Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Trainer Talk. Today, we're going to be going over how healthy habits can become unhealthy if they're taken too far. So a couple examples. One that I have is overtraining. So obviously working out is very healthy for you, but if you overdo it, it can actually be detrimental to you as well. So for example, if you're coming in for 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're not recovering, you're actually doing a lot of damage to your muscle. Or if you're somebody that really enjoys classes and you're doing multiple classes a day, so we actually have some members that we've had to tell to not come so much and to spend a little bit more time just recovering and repairing their body because they were doing 2 or 3 classes in a day, and then after the course of the week they might be doing 9 workouts. So we just want to make sure that people have a balance of the right amount of sleep and workouts in order to grow and keep progressing. I'll let these guys share a couple of things that they have, and then we'll keep giving you guys some tips on how to avoid these things.
Yeah, so along those lines is if they're not eating enough or not sleeping enough in order to work out more or lose more weight, they're restricting their calories too much. That causes them to lose muscle. They have very low energy. Also affects your hormones, so your overall health is really affected that way, as well as not getting enough sleep. People really like to focus on what they're doing in the gym, and even if they do have their diet on point, they're still not getting enough sleep to recover, which is the main thing that we draw from to recover our muscles and bodies, to prevent injury, to actually make adaptation, to grow muscles, to lose fat. That's when the majority of it happens, is when you're sleeping. So people are focusing on things they can do, whereas sleep is king when it comes to recovery. So like you said, if they're training a lot, but then they're under eating and they're not sleeping enough, they're not going to recover. And so it's you're doing the training almost for nothing. Yeah. It's you could do less and gain more benefits, because then you're able to actually adapt and change. Whereas if you're just hammering your body, it's if you could, there's an analogy I heard, it was if you got in a car accident once a week, even though it's a lot of trauma to your body and it breaks it down, it doesn't mean you're going to get stronger and get jacked from it.
Right.
And you have to give it the right amount of stimulus, the right amount of intensity, but not too much.
Yeah, so one thing I want to touch on is becoming obsessed with working out, which Taylor kind of already said, but I know a lot of times, and this was me back in the past when I first started working out, we can become unhealthily obsessed with working out, thinking that we can't take any days off, we can't take any weekends off, we can't take a week off. But truth is, your body needs time to recover, just like they were just talking about. And sometimes there are things that are just more important than working out 24/7. If you want to go away for a weekend and spend time with your family, making those memories and having fun and spending time with them is way more important than stressing and worrying about working out. I just recently went to Florida and I ate like crap. We had alcohol, we didn't work out, and guess what? I didn't come back 20 pounds heavier. Just because you take time away from the gym for even a week does not mean it's going to kill your results and make you take 10 steps backwards. Did I feel sluggish coming back into my workout when I came back? Yeah. Did I feel like I was going to throw up after my Metcon? Yeah. But the memories that I made were worth it. I got to have good food that we don't have around here, and just spend that time and make those memories with my family, which I know a year ago I would have obsessed over it. I would have, the whole time I was on vacation, a year ago I would have been thinking I should be working out, I should be lifting, I should be in the gym, I shouldn't be eating this, I shouldn't be drinking this. That is an unhealthy obsession with working out and eating healthy, and something that we don't want you guys to have. We want this to be a lifestyle where you can take time away and come back and just relax and enjoy time off from the gym.
Yeah. So bottom line is something like that is actually healthy for us, because it allows us to just relax and recover and kind of unwind and de-stress. That's why they call it vacation. It's time to just de-stress and unwind from the real world. And then you can get back on track once you get back. The important thing is just never to stop completely. You want to train and work hard, but you have to have times where you do allow your body to just kind of unwind unwind and recover, that's actually a part of health. And spending time with your loved ones, those relationships, that's another big part of overall health as well. You know, some people get really obsessive, they cut out everybody in their life because they don't have the exact same beliefs as them, and that can be unhealthy for them in the long term because they end up ruining those relationships. So you need to just have a little bit of a balance, you know, like I'm extremely passionate about CrossFit and I want to be one of the fittest men in the world. So obviously a big part of my life is my nutrition and my training, my recovery, but I'm still going to allow myself to have fun with my friends every once in a while and go out to eat and stuff like that with my fiance, you know, a couple times a month or whatever it is, just to try to enjoy life as well. So you have to have kind of that balance. Another thing, just to touch on the first point, the more you train, the more you have to recover. So that's kind of a good way to look at it. So, you know, if you're training 6 days a week, 7 days a week, you need to actually make more time to sleep and recover as well. So just think about that. If you're only working out a couple days, you can get away with having a few bad nights of sleep or not having to focus on recovery as much, but the more you start to train, the more you're gonna have to worry about your nutrition and your sleep and recovery. Sleep is where the gains happen, is what we like to say. You know, that's where you lose the fat, that's where you gain the muscle, that's where you recover your mind. So you need to make sure that you're focusing on that. So the next point that I had down was, you know, obviously when we think about foods such as like a salad, that's like the go-to norm for healthy eating. Everybody that goes on a diet, they're automatically thinking of salads. And although a salad can be thought of as a healthy food, it's got your lettuce and, you know, a lot of times we'll put some other veggies in there, maybe some chicken for your protein. But a lot of times people will layer it with like ranch or something like that that's unhealthy. And if that's the only thing that you're eating 2 or 3 times a day, you're going to be very undernourished. You're not going to have nearly enough protein. You're getting almost no healthy fats, and you're almost getting no carbs. So you're going to be operating very, very sluggishly because you're just not getting those calories in. Your body's metabolism is going to slow down, and if you go back to your old diet, or if you start increasing your calories, you're actually going to put on more weight than you lost while dieting with the salad. So even though it's considered a healthy meal, you need to make sure that you're actually eating a more balanced diet and not just restricting those calories down to 600 or 800 calories or less sometimes. So that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they automatically jump to those salads and they don't realize that they're actually taking a toll on their body, crushing their metabolism, their energy's going to go down, they're just not getting the nutrients that they need.
Like along with those lines, like especially with the salad, it's very filling. And once you get down to those, like, you know, it's too little amount of calories when you're not hungry, but you're in a deficit. So like when you're eating less than you're burning and you're not hungry, that's not a good sign. That means that your fatigue level is too high. So you're not recovering enough to actually like create adaptations. And your body is like, I'm too fatigued. I don't even want to eat. I'm just stressed out because there's so much cortisol being produced. So if you're eating 3 salads a day, working out, you know, 3-4 times a week, and you're not hungry, it's probably not a good sign. Just gonna let you know that now. Like people say, oh, well, it's, you know, it's great, I'm not hungry, so they think that they're eating enough, and they're not.
Right.
Like, there's more science than just hunger to tell you if you're eating enough.
If you're really low energy, not really sore and
if you
stuff.
can't sleep well, soreness is a big one. If you're like trashed after your workouts, like you finish your workout and you can't do anything the rest of the day, which, I mean, I guess we kind of do that sometimes, but that's a different situation. We go back and take a nap. So recovery. On that note, even if we can't get enough sleep, like I know, like lately I'm only able to get like 7, maybe 7.5 hours of sleep a night, which ideally I would want to get like closer to 8, even like 8.5 or 9 to be like most recovered and, you know, to really maximize everything, but my schedule doesn't allow for it. So what do? I dial up like nutrition. So I've like recently cut out a lot of things that have been known to be like inflammatory, like causing just like excess inflammation and stress in my body. So just like having that to help recover faster, not put as much stress on my body, even though I can't get as much sleep as I want to recover. I'm making it work in other areas, and like making sure I'm stretching more and certain things like that, just to like, you know, if you're trying to move the needle somewhere, and if you can't, like your schedule just doesn't allow you to get more sleep, then you have to either change your diet or have other practices where you're maybe taking a nap during the day, or you're doing more stretching or some sort of relaxing activity to at least let your body and mind recover.
Another like personal story just about eating and nutrition. The last like few months since I've been doing CrossFit, I have started eating more just because I'm like, okay, these are really intense workouts. Like mentally it can be challenging to eat more when you don't want to gain weight or whatever it is. But I started eating more, and we have our InBody scale, which I love because it takes your weight and looks at what your weight is made up of, whether it's, you know, your body fat, your muscle, and other things, water. And it was really cool because I stepped on the InBody when I more was like starting CrossFit, and my scans were great, whatever. And then I stepped on it maybe a little over a month later, and my weight had gone up, but my body fat had gone down and my muscle had gone up. And it was just crazy to see that change from eating more, and that's just, you know, really encouraging. Like, okay, we do need to fuel our bodies with more nutrient-dense foods, and it can lead to a decrease in body fat and an increase in muscle, which is what everybody wants when they say they want to look toned. So
Yes.
that's just really cool to see those things happen.
And it was like a substantial amount.
Yeah.
It was like a 2% drop. Wasn't it,
Yeah.
body fat?
Yeah, but like,
And 2 or 3 pounds,
Yeah.
something like this, honestly.
yeah.
Really good. So yeah, that's just a clear example of she was balancing her training with her nutrition. She started doing a little bit more intense training, I would say, maybe even a little bit longer duration, so she started eating more to compensate for that, and she ended up getting great results. Whereas a lot of people that start here, they go from maybe eating whatever they want, and they could be eating 2,000 or 3,000 calories a day and not know it. They start training 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, and they cut their calories. They'll actually end up going the wrong way. They'll start breaking down and losing muscle mass, starting to lose energy. So basically, the bottom line is you want to start eating more calories in total, more nutrient-dense foods, the more you're training and getting that sleep. You know, something that I was doing, like, we just finished up the CrossFit Open and the CrossFit quarterfinals, so I was putting my body through not necessarily more volume of training, but just the workouts. I was literally giving it everything I had, so it was just the stimulus of it, the intensity level. So I was making sure that I was spending a little extra time during the week getting a little bit more recovery. So I typically take like a power nap every day for 30 minutes just to recharge my mind. Well, I was trying to get like an hour and a half long nap, for example, just to get a little bit more rest and recovery for my body because I was preparing for what I was about to put it through. So just another example of, you know, the more training you're doing, the more recovery you're going to need to try to create that balance. Another really popular one that people do is intermittent fasting. So this is kind of the same thing with the calorie intake. A lot of people, you know, realize that intermittent fasting is beneficial for you. It does have a lot of good benefits, but a lot of people, they'll fast for say 16 or 18, sometimes even 20 hours, and then in that 4 to 8 hour window, they're not getting the calories that they need. So that can actually be detrimental to your health. So in order to get the benefits from that healthy habit, you still need to make sure that you're getting your calories and your nutrients in that window. So if you're somebody that wants to fast for 16 hours or 18 hours, you've got 6 or 8 hours to eat, you know, the 2,000 calories that you need or however much it is. You know, for me, I've never done it just simply because waking up at 4 a.m. And then usually having dinner when I get home around 6 or 7 p.m. I just haven't been able to go that long without eating. Typically, I'm training or doing some classes in the morning, so I need that fuel, and then I'm working out around 9 or 10 o'clock. And if I don't have anything in my system for that first 4 or 5 hours, I'm going to feel extremely sluggish and very hungry. So it just doesn't work for me. But if it does work for you, make sure you're getting those calories in that window.
Yeah, like a lot of the benefits people have seen through studies of intermittent fasting, interestingly, it's just a lot of it's due to just decreasing calories because you're having that time restriction, which like, hey, if that works for you, if it works better for you to restrict your calories or hold you to that sort of standard, which you don't have to do all the time. It's not like it's a set rule that you always have to follow, just like with, you know, working out every day or anything like that. But having that set schedule helps people to get into that calorie deficit. Whereas like long term, it might not be the most beneficial hormone-wise, just because of like the different hormones that play with our circadian rhythms, melatonin, so that's with sleep, depending on what times you have it. I know it affects women differently than men, so it just kind of comes down to like what's best for you. Even though there's like, yes, there's benefits shown to it, you'd get probably a very similar benefit just to reducing your calories, but not too much. Another part that we want to talk about is cutting out certain food groups that are like quote unquote healthy, that, you know, are either deemed unhealthy, or maybe you think that they're healthy but they're really not for your body. Like if certain people have intolerances or are even like allergic to like gluten, you know, people with celiac disease, if they have dairy intolerance, lactose intolerance, then, you know, even though those can be a part of a healthy diet, those people don't want to eat those because it's not gonna be healthy for them. Now, can you have that sometimes? Yes, but you're just gonna have to know that it might come at a cost sometimes. So just knowing like when it would be beneficial, like for your mind, so like for your mindset to reset, have, you know, whatever you want, like the ice cream or the pizza or something like that you really don't eat a lot, but, you know, you're out with friends or something and you just want to have a slice or something like that, just to enjoy, make some memories, then it's completely fine. Just, you know, not doing it all the time, because obviously it's not going to be healthy long term. But being mindful of what works for your body, I think, is a big key.
Yeah, I can really speak to this one because I have an inflammatory bowel disease. So I can't have a lot of things. The like big ones are dairy and gluten, and so every once in a while, you know, I can have a little bit of dairy, but if I mix the two together, so like pizza is a no-go for me. I haven't had pizza in like almost 2 years. Like I'll have a bite of pizza just to because I love pizza so much. But yeah, it's like, you know, those are things that, you know, for the normal person, if they don't have any intolerances, I would say, yeah, you know, have a slice of pizza every once in a while if that's something you love. But yeah, if it's something that hurts your body, like it does mine, and puts you in the hospital, then it's not worth it. And that can be a really hard thing to like let go of. But you have to do what you have to do for your own body, and you have to listen to your body and what it feels, because you'll learn like what your body can and can't tolerate once you kind of play around with those things.
Yeah, I'm similar. I don't have like a bowel disease or anything, but I do have a big intolerance to gluten. Like just when I eat a lot of bread or whole grains, it does tear my stomach up, and I am lactose intolerant. So even though whole grains can be considered healthy, you know, if they wouldn't be great for me because they're just going to tear my digestive system up. So for me, I need to avoid it. Same thing with dairy. I try to avoid it. With that being said, I am the type of person that, for example, on a weekend or every other weekend, I'm going to go get a Blizzard and enjoy a Blizzard because I love them. And it's just a little treat. Usually I do it like right after our workout. It's kind of, that's like a little reward. And that's just another thing, a part of like the healthy lifestyle, is you need to still kind of enjoy it and reward yourself every once in a while. So even though a Blizzard is an unhealthy food, it's a healthy habit because I'm rewarding myself and kind of keeping myself sane, not eating 100% healthy 100% of the time. That can get to that obsessing thing that we were talking about earlier, which we want to try to avoid. So basically, whenever it comes down to, you know, eating healthy or working out, you need to just make sure that you have kind of a balance or a plan to make sure that it doesn't lead you down an unhealthy road or have negative effects or take you away from your goals.
Yeah, like especially right now, like I'm sure you could probably speak to this, of like certain things are turned up. Like we talk about like dials of, you know, people tend to dial down in the summer instead of going from, you know, a 10 to a 0, you know, you maybe want to go down to a 6 or something like that. With us just coming off of, like you're just coming off of the Open and quarterfinals, So you might be dialing it back just a little bit, like nutrition strictness and like maybe training wise, just like taking a little bit more rest. Whereas like we're just coming up on a competition in next weekend, and so after that, like I mean, my plan is to kind of dial back a little bit of the strictness of nutrition. That night when we go out to eat, I'll probably have whatever speaks to my heart. Have whatever I want, just because it's a reward, and worked hard during the day. So it's okay to take time where you're not as like dialed in, and just kind of let your mind and your body relax a little bit, and just not, so that way you don't get to that obsessive place. That's kind of what I would use is, taking training back a little bit, or taking your diet back to, maybe you're eating a Blizzard every 2 weeks or something like that, just to keep it more sustainable that way.
Yeah, life is all about balance and sustainability. So if you can't do it forever, then you shouldn't be doing it at
That's
all.
my favorite thing.
I do want to touch on macro counting really quick.
Yeah.
So counting your macros, yes, it can be a healthy thing. It can show us where we're at, how many calories you're eating, how many you should be eating, if you're eating enough carbs, proteins, and fats. I know Bethany counts her macros, and it doesn't bring her any stress. She's fine with it. She doesn't have any issues with it. Me, on the other hand, I do not count my macros. I will every once in a while just to see where I'm at and to make sure that I'm eating enough and I'm eating the right things. But for me, in the past, I've had an unhealthy relationship with food. So if I count macros and say one day I'm over or one day I'm under, that brings me so much stress and anxiety that then I obsess over food, and then it's not healthy. So for someone like me, I can't consistently count my macros. I just learned how to listen to my body and know about how much of everything I should be eating, and that works for me. But for Bethany, she can count her macros every day, and she doesn't have that same issue that I have, and that's just a personal thing. But that's just how something that is supposed to be healthy is not healthy for myself.
Yeah, like that's a really good point, because like, yeah, you can get kind of obsessive with like tracking macros and hitting that like exactly every day, and if you're off one day, then it like brings you a lot of stress. But like for me, I just like having the plan. I like having it structured out. I can plan ahead and just know that I'm getting enough of what I need to get. That's like the biggest thing of like, okay, I know I'm getting enough protein. That like helps me to kind of not stress about it. All I have to do is look on my app and say, okay, this is the meal I have planned here. I'll eat that, and then I have however many more meals to spread throughout the day. Like that's just what works for me. And if I am hungry and I've eaten all my macros, I'm not like, well, that's it. That's all I get to eat for today. If I'm hungry, I'll still eat more. Not like a craving. If I'm getting a craving, then that's a little bit different than actual hunger. Hunger is like I'll eat, a pound of broccoli or something. Like I don't care what it is. So then I'll add a little bit more, even if it's technically over my macros. I'll still I'll listen to my body and know like, okay, I did have a harder training day, like I guarded my deadlift and did all these other things, and it's like you kind of have to give yourself a break sometimes and just listen to what's best for you.
Yeah. And another big thing that people do is like if they do maybe miss their macros, maybe they go over or under in one day, they'll stress out about it. When in reality, it's more of an accumulation of like a week. You want to look at it over a week's time, not just on a daily basis. So she understands that one day is not going to derail or affect her progress. Maybe if she did that every single day for a week, maybe it would affect it. But try not to stress out if one day you're thrown off. As long as like when we set our macros for clients, there's usually like a 10% or 20% buffer. So like if you need 1,500 calories and then X amount of protein, carbs, and fats, you can go 150 to 200 calories plus or minus and still be okay as long as you stayed in that range all week, because it's pretty much going to average out. Another big one that I almost forgot to even say is people that weigh themselves every day. That can be very obsessive, and people will get extremely stressed out if they're weighing themselves every day and not seeing that change. So although it's great to track your progress, that could be a healthy habit to track make sure you're making progress. If you're weighing yourself every single day, don't expect it to go down in a straight line. every single day, day after day for months on end. It's going to be more of an up and down spiral. You might go up a couple pounds one day, down a couple pounds one day. So just understand that that is a part of the process. You know, I could wake up and weigh 195 pounds, and then after eating and drinking water, when I go to bed, I'm 200 pounds. You know, you can literally gain 2 to 5 pounds just depending on what you're eating and drinking, and then wake up and it's gone because most of it's gonna be water weight or food that we're processing. So just understand that that is a part of the process. I would recommend probably just maybe picking one day a week that you weigh yourself instead of every single day. Maybe like the first Monday or maybe every Friday morning after a hard week of training and eating and sleeping, you know, weigh yourself on Friday morning or something like that. That'll just help reduce the stress levels a little bit. So that's definitely something that I want to make sure we touched on. And that's what we try to explain to our clients, is not to focus on the scale, focus on how you feel. That's why we do the body scan, the in-body. You know, if Caitlin weighed herself after a month and a half doing CrossFit and was 1 pound heavier, she probably would have thought, oh no, I failed, I didn't lose any body fat. But since we did the body scan, she actually recognized I dropped body fat, gained muscle, and I'm the same weight. So that's a really cool, that's why we do that type of measurement. So if you can, maybe do like measurements with a tape measure instead of just with the scale. Or just pay attention how your clothes fit. You know, if you're the same weight but your clothes fit differently, you're making progress. So just focus on that as well. So that could be a healthy way to track your progress rather than just focusing on the scale.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that kind of trips people up, is like if they maybe only lose like a pound or two in a month, which is like, I mean, it's still progress. It's not like it's nothing. And then they're like, well, but my clothes are fitting really good and I feel stronger. And it's like, that's what we want. Like, that's what you came in for. You want to feel better and you want to get stronger. It's like we get so obsessive on like certain things, whereas like our initial goals are just to feel better in our clothes and get stronger, get fitter. And like that's what we try to measure that. I mean, we have PR boards up there so people can measure, you know, their strength and how much weight they can lift, not much how they weigh. Right? So it's not like we're putting people's weights up there and being like, oh, who can be the lightest and who can be the heaviest.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we're not focused on that. We're focusing on, you know, things that it's like if they're putting in the work and they're coming in and they're lifting heavy, they're getting their workouts in, they're fueling right and recovering, those numbers are gonna reflect it, and then the scale kind of comes along with that. Like that's the funny thing, once people like don't focus on the scale as much, that's when you get the results.
Yeah, I just don't weigh myself because,
I do.
Unless-
See, I
Once
do.
every
unless
4
I
to 8
hop on
weeks.
unless I hop on the in-body and I can see everything that's going on, I don't like to hop on the scale because in the past, before I started working out, I was the bigger friend compared to all my other friends, which I know is hard for people to imagine now, but I was, and so I still can have that negative mindset if I step on the scale all the time, so I just don't because it's not healthy for me.
Yeah.
Whereas
So
Bethany can weigh herself.
So there's another.
Almost every day. I don't like. I'm not obsessive about it, but it's just like, you know, it's there in the morning. It's more of a habit now of just like. But like the awareness I bring around it is different than like a lot of people's. Is like if they go up and weight, they're like, oh, like it's not working. Like if I go up and weight, I'm like, I don't know. It could have been because I ate later last night. Could have been because I had a hard training day and my body's a little bit more inflamed. Could have been because I had more water. Could have been a lot of different things.
She's a lot
She
better than I am.
understands.
I understand what goes on,
With the
so
body, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, me science over here. But anyways, just as long as it's not something that's you're gonna be obsessive about, then it's fine.
Yeah, and I would just recommend like what Caitlin said, like if that's something that is going to be stressful for you, just don't do it. Just because everybody else is maybe doing a weigh-in every month or something, like if that's something that you're not really worried about, or if you don't care about it and it stresses you out, don't do it just because everybody else is. Like find your own ways to measure your own progress, something that works for you. Like she said earlier, like if it doesn't work for you, if you can't do it forever, don't do it at all. So that happens a lot with nutrition. You know, a lot of people try these crazy diets, and I just say, hey, can you do this for the rest of your life? And if they say no, I'll say, don't even try it because it's not worth it. You're just gonna go back to your old habits anyways. It's more of a process. Like you just have to like trial and error, like learn what works for you, and then you'll develop a system. For me, you know, with my training, I love training. Like I literally feel way better when I work out. but I understand that after 5 days of working out for 2 hours, I can't train to full intensity every single day. So there's 2 days a week where one day it's just an active recovery. We still work out, but it's really light. It might consist of some rowing or biking or running just to move our body. And then there might be one day of a full rest, or maybe I'll come in and like stretch and roll out just to move. So that's what works for me. And then the other days are very intense. With that intensity, I go to bed earlier than pretty much everybody, I would say. It's gotten earlier and earlier. This week, I think we were in bed by like 7 p.m. every night. So, but making sure that I'm getting enough sleep is important, and getting my naps in. Like, if that doesn't work for you, that's fine. But understand that you might not be able to train at the intensity that if I were to add it up, I would say I'm working out for about 12 hours a week. Most of you guys are going to be just fine with like 3 to 6 hours, maybe even less, maybe even an hour and a half, like 3 30-minute workouts. So you won't demand as much sleep as, say, we do. So that's just another point that we want to make. And with the dial, I love that you brought that up, because I get extremely frustrated with it, as these guys know. Every single summer we have like, a big portion of our members completely quit for the summer because they're going outside or they're too busy, and they think that they're getting enough off, just like walking outside. But realistically, we do need resistance training. We do still need to be able to maintain the results that we acquired over the course of the fall and the winter and the spring. So if you want to keep those results, you need to just adjust your dial, not go from 100 to 0, maybe go from an 8 or a 9 to like a 5 or a 4. So if you're working out 3, 4, 5 times a week in the gym all winter long, don't go to 0, maybe cut it down to 2, and still be able to maintain your muscle, your strength, your results, and then enjoy the other days outside. That's another big tip that I have, just to keep your healthy habits going without completely getting rid of them. So, anything else? Okay, that wraps up our talk for today. This is episode number 46, so coming up on a year. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hopefully these tips help you guys out. Just try to find that balance of your healthy habits. Try not to make them unhealthy. Same with unhealthy habits. You don't want to eat unhealthy all the time, but make sure you do enjoy yourself every once in a while. For me, it's about 80% of the time. 80-20 balance seems to work the best. So try these out, let us know how it works. If you need help, obviously reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to talk with you and put a plan together for you to get you started. So until next time, stay healthy, you guys. See ya.